Welcome back, ball fans. Thanks for joining us today. Is this a report card day in the Southeastern Conference? Mid-season report cards are out, and some people are going to get their little ice cream at the Dairy Queen, and other kids are going to be hiding the report cards from their mama.
That's right. Beamer, yeah,
Beamer's probably hiding it from his mama.
Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
Keep in mind this is just based off of preseason expectations, not exactly how the teams have actually played to this point. So, with that being said, let's start off with Georgia.
Okay, Bob, we're going with a C on Georgia. Obviously, not saying Georgia's a state team, they're number one team, they're undefeated, but they're playing down to the competition.
Close games with South Carolina and Auburn, two not good teams.
They're not.
So, having those close games like that, but now are undefeated, still ranked number one in the country.
Mhm.
So you can't knock them down too much, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
Quite honestly, if you just base solely on expectations, you might be below C. But when you're undefeated, ranked number one, you can't hardly give you a failing grade.
Sure.
So with that right there, let's run into Florida. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, Bob, but they get a solid B.
Yeah, and it's mainly based off the Tennessee win.
Yeah, and the players Mertz.
Yeah, Mertz, we thought
He's exceeded it.
Yeah, he really has. We thought he was a game manager only. Had a little problem with turnovers a lot during his career. He's kind of done better with that, seems like. He's been very accurate, even though, that he's not do a whole, they're not asking him to do a whole lot, just completing short passes, but that was enough to beat somebody.
Yeah.
But
and the record's better than what, we gave them expected for
mhm.
them. And you know what? You could even argue a better grade for them. But the only thing really holding them back is if you just watch them, you're not seeing a good football team.
Yeah, if they had beaten Utah, which was a game that's somewhat of a toss-up, considering how many people was out for Utah, and they did lose to Kentucky, but they have took care of business elsewhere. Yeah, B's about what we give them on that. The next team received the highest grade so far is Missouri.
Well, they've the feel-good story of the conference. No one really had high expectations for them, and here they are, honestly looking at maybe a 9-3 season, possibly, potentially. From here, nobody would have picked that.
Yeah.
Cook has played very well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's an easy A.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Kansas State, number 15 ranked team in the country right now. So that was a really good win there. And
in spite of Drinkwitz,
yeah,
who's off the hot seat, so
sure.
Congrats for him.
They did lose to LSU, and but they did beat Kentucky this past week. Kind of bumped that score a little bit.
And that was a big game in the Eastern Division. So I mean, I think Missouri has earned
Outdone expectations.
So now we're going to jump into Tennessee. But before we do that, we just want to thank you again for joining us. If you don't care, could you help us out? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy talking about Tennessee football, like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's go into Tennessee. And, unfortunately, I'd give us a C, but let's explain that one, Bob.
Yeah, we've played three teams that we felt like could possibly get us. They were close enough to coin flips.
Well, I mean, coin flips, but I would say the probably pop up games the games that could go.
Yeah, probably a 40, 60, 60, 40 type game.
That varies, yes.
The South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Florida, being at Florida. We won two of the games, lost Florida. Can't give us too good a score. Get losing to Florida. A team that's not looked all that impressive.
Yeah. But if you had our expectations going into this season right now, we need to be 5-1 or 6-0, and we're 5-1, so you can't kill us too much. Really, what really flipped in that C grade for us though was, being Tennessee fans, we look at the team and has defense exceeded expectations?
I think based off most people's expectations, definitely.
Has the run game exceeded expectations? Probably.
Yeah.
Unless you had really high expectations.
Right.
How about that passing game?
Way below expectation.
Yeah. If you went into the league, started the year and told us or told anyone that Tennessee would have arguably statistically as good as anyone's defense in the conference, and maybe the best rushing attack in the conference. I mean, you're going to be really happy.
Yeah.
But you also, by the same token, if you can give us our passing numbers right now, you wouldn't have guessed 5-1.
No.
So Tennessee was 3, and from there we're going to hop in the car and take a little trip up the interstate to Lexington and them kitty cats.
Yeah, we give them a C plus. They've played pretty decent this year.
We're 5-2, right?
Yeah, 5-2. If they had beaten Missouri this past week, they'd got a lot better score.
Yeah, true.
But they did beat Florida, beat Vandy, and beat everybody else pretty much that they should have at this point.
I could have seen them giving them a little higher. It's just that everyone had pretty high expectations for their quarterback too.
Yeah.
So that
Going into the year,
a bit for that.
Going into the year, they probably felt like they should beat Missouri, and that's a loss they didn't have. But
Well, they was hoping for the second coming of Tim Couch, and they got the second coming of Will Levis.
yeah,
So
yeah, that part has been a disappointment. But
yeah. And speaking of disappointments, South Carolina fans, let's talk about the Gamecocks. Well,
yeah, they not happy in Columbia. You know, they had a couple games in this year. They felt like they could have possibly won. Starting with the very first game, the UNC, they felt like they probably should have won that one. They wanted the Tennessee game and wanted the Florida game. Those are games, all 3 games that they felt like
probably toss-up games.
probably winnable.
And they came out 0-3.
0-3 on those, yeah. So that's why they're at D right now with no really good wins.
No, and quite honestly, if Spencer Rattler had played anywhere like I expected them to, they'd be a solid F because I swear sometimes they look like the worst team in the league. At points.
They have points there.
At points they do.
Yeah, Beamer
That offensive line.
will go into next season on the hot seat. I think he'll make it through this season, but he'll be on the hot seat for the next.
You know what? He's still got goodwill over there, but it's kind of odd, really, if you consider that to be a fairly new coach, and by second season, you have the fans calling for your offensive coordinator's job, and by the third season, they're calling for a defensive coordinator's job.
Yeah.
So who's next?
Yeah.
So let's go a little west now and go over to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. 1-4, 2-6 overall. They've got a couple out of conference games, but Vandy's Vandy. You know, they're kind of sitting pretty close to where we thought they'd be. We got them at C- just because they probably should have won another out of conference game. Probably.
Well, I'm thinking that they won 2 conference games last year, and they was probably hoping for at least 1 this year. That's looking doubtful.
Yeah.
But you know, their offense has played better than I expected at the same token without Ray Davis. So, you know, 6 above them, half dozen, C-.
Yeah. We're gonna go on over to the West Division.
Another C- team.
Yeah. Alabama.
Yeah, ain't much difference between Vanderbilt and Alabama.
Exactly. You know, Bama. Some people had them picked for national championship, top 4 team, pretty much by most people. Not looked really dominant for the most part, and the loss to Texas gives them that C-.
Well, no, I mean, with Alabama, you know, if you're outside the top 10, that's a disappointment. And quite honestly, they're like a lot of other teams, and that they're really good in certain areas, and honestly, really bad in a couple others, particularly that offensive line, which, Bob, I don't know if you know this or not, but they recruit offensive line pretty well.
Yeah.
Along with everything else.
Yeah.
So, even though they've got leading the Western division, a little disappointing, under expectations. Along with the team that's taking place over there right now, the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, we give them a D plus. You know, their offense looks fantastic, but their defense has stunk. I mean, to have 2 potential All-Americans on a defense and it to be given up the points they are right now.
Well, in my lifetime, I can count very few times when I haven't looked at LSU's defense and see NFL talent all across, littered across of it.
Yeah.
How it's playing as bad as it has been this year is amazing. And the amazing play of Jaden Daniels, Heisman candidate. But, you know, considering that some people had him in the playoffs, a lot of people had him as a popular pick to take the Western Division, which potentially is still good.
Yeah.
But we went D plus on them.
Yeah, the losses to Mississippi and Florida State first game of the year there.
And they're just not looking good on a lot of other games.
Yeah, they are starting to seem to play a little better though at this point, but
They could get that grade better.
yeah, definitely could.
And that leads us, I guess, to everybody's favorite coach, Lane Kiffin,
Some people's
the
favorite.
Lane Train.
Gonna give them a B, and mainly off they've pretty much played where we thought they would at this point, but with the exception of beating LSU.
Mhm.
So that there's a feather in their hat.
Right, slightly exceeded expectations.
Yeah, that was a good win.
A&M, C minus. Bob, you want to explain that in one word or less?
Probably Jimbo. I mean, that team was a team that you're talking about a team that was hard to gauge going in, but so it's really hard to say what expectations was for
Right.
the team.
If you look at the talent, your expectations were top 10
Yeah.
because they're a top 5 talent team in the country probably. And but you look at what they did last year, and you look at it and go, well, why would we have expectations? So
Yeah, A&M would not be happy with 3 losses at this point.
well, they're not. If you listen to all their fan sites and everything, I'm waiting for someone to start a GoFundMe account. Probably not to raise the 60 or 70 million that it takes to buy Jimbo out, but probably hire a private investigator to see if they can find any, you know, dead puppies in his closet or something.
Yeah,
Getting fired for cause.
yeah. The next team is Arkansas. We gave them a D. They were supposed to be a little better than they are at this point.
Yeah, they got 44 in the conference.
I mean, when you're they lost at BYU. That's a game they should have won. The rest of their schedule is probably fairly close to what they should be at this point. But they really wanted to try to sneak out a win on one of these games, like with Texas A&M or Bama or Ole Miss. They really felt like they should have at least had one of those wins at this point.
Well, that first game injury to Rocket Sanders has really just hamstrung them, and it's put Pittman possibly on the hot seat. Speaking of coaches familiar with hot seats or the electric chair one, let's go to Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, we gave them a C minus. Not played, very well, but they did beat Cal early in the season.
And that's a big plus on them.
Played Georgia kind of tough, but they really don't have, a very, good win in the conference or anything like that. They've been pretty wore out there, with the exception of the Georgia game where they played them pretty tight.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at on them. C minus, we thought was pretty fair for them. So then it goes to the last team, Mississippi State.
Yes, we gave them a C plus, and the plus generally, quite honestly, come from that Arizona road win early in the season. Mississippi State was another team that no one really had a good peg on. Simply, they didn't know what to expect after the loss of Mike Leach.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, honestly, if it hadn't been for the Arizona win on the road, I would have really cut their grades down a bit.
Arizona's looking like a halfway decent win at this point.
So that's pretty much the mid-season report cards for the conference. And, let's wait a few weeks and see if, I don't care what these other guys do. Let's see what Tennessee's grade is at the end of the year.
Yeah. We'll know a lot more here in the next 2-3 weeks.
Big time. But until then, join us for our follow-up episodes this week. And go Vols.
Go Vols.